Hey, what's up guys, this is Terabyte, and welcome to Asagao Academy. Now, I've never played this, but it looked interesting, so why not? The only thing I know is that you're a girl named Hana, and that you are trying to romance various people from the normal boots community. I guess the content creators for normal boots. In any case, it's gonna be great. So let's start. The train made its way along the gentle curve of the coast of Japan, whisking me farther and farther from home. Across from me sat a boy, face half buried in a newspaper. He was deeply entranced in whatever article he was reading and hadn't spoken a single word to me, even when I asked if I could join him at the last compartment with any available seat. He shrugged, nodded, and adjusted his newspaper without ever making eye contact. It had been almost an hour, in fact, and he hadn't looked even at me even once. Devoid of conversation, I took instead to counting the buttons on the pretentiously lush carmine seat cushions. 1, 2, 3, 21, 22, and so forth over and over. And now and again, I turned to look out the window where the trees were blurring by. Sometimes the smeared green would break and reveal the quiet blue of the Sea of Japan. Eventually, this rapidity made my stomach churn, and I went back to counting the buttons on the seat cushions. 1, 2, 3. The train compartment shuddered around us. My eyes wandered to the boy in his jacket. It wasn't the school-issued blue that I and the other students on the train were wearing. Instead, it was a green, varsity-like jacket with an embroidered patch poorly sewn on the front. So you're a first year, then? He folded his newspaper neatly, set it in his lap, and looked at me with a half-interested gaze. Did he just catch me staring? I really, really, really like the sparkle effects. That is just beautiful. Now that the paper was gone, I saw his face. He watched me through heavy-lidded eyes. His hair was immaculately groomed, his teeth straight and blindingly bright. There was something about him, the way the light hit him, that made him look like he was almost sparkling? Oh. Me? I like the sound effects. That's cute. He glanced around the compartment empty beside us and laughed. Oh. No, I'm not a first year. I'm a third year. The train began to slow, metal wheels groaning against the metal tracks. The sudden shift threatened to rob me of whatever was left in my stomach, but I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, willing myself to keep it together. What kind of impression would I leave, puking on a student before I even arrived at the academy? The boy frowned. I picked at the hem of my cotton skirt. That's not possible. I've never seen you before. It took me a moment of mouth fishing to find a response. It's because I'm a transfer student? He laughed again. A transfer student, huh? We don't get many of those. I removed my acceptance letter from the front pocket of my uniform. The paper, heavyweight, off-white, had accumulated creases from my reading and reading, as if the words might have changed since the last time I read it. The boy took it, studied it, then handed it back to me.
I'll see you around.
Well then, Hana, I suppose I'll be seeing you around. He smiled at me as he picked up the suitcase lying next to him. By the time I hiccuped a response, he was already gone from the compartment. I stared out into the empty hallway of the train. It was then that I realized he, having gotten it from my acceptance letter, knew my name, and I never got his. The train settled at the station, and I filed out with the rest of the uniformed students. It was early April, and the last frost of winter had come and gone. The trees were already green, their leaves shivering and the occasional gust weaving through them. The air was mild, only a few clouds hanging in the sky. I walked along the road with the swarm of blue-jacketed bodies, looking at the little groups breaking off from the crowd. Everyone was buzzing so animatedly around me. I held my suitcase tight in my sweaty hands. It was leather-bound and worth more than anything it contained. It wasn't far to the school, and I was, for maybe the first time in my life, thankful that what I owned didn't amount to much. My school issued black Oxfords. Click, click, click on the pavement. I walked this walk over and over in my mind. So many nights I lay awake imagining what it would be like to walk from the train station to Asagao Academy for the first time. My new start. I always imagined that everything would change for me on this walk, that somehow everything would be magically different, but as I looked around I realized nothing had changed. I hadn't changed. By the time I reached the massive gate to the academy, I forgot all about the disappointment slouching in the back of my throat. The school, framed by the gate's twisting black metal, was just as beautiful as the glossy photos I saw in its pamphlets. This was it. Asagao Academy. I glanced around, the swarm of students gathering around the gate. Beyond it, tiny blue people bounced around the academy's main building. A girl pressed a button to one side of the gate. The excitement in the air was almost palpable. A few moments later, the black gate with great effort creaked outwards and cleared the pathway. As the rest of the group shifted into motion, I followed along, sheep in the herd. My stomach tied itself into knots. The crowd split off in different directions. For a moment, I panicked. A tired-looking man with graying hair called out for first years, a cluster of fresh-faced students gathering around him. Hey, look at that girl. I turned. A few feet away, a small group of boys were pointing at me and snickering. Pink hair? Are you kidding me? How desperate can you get? Hot shame crawled down my neck. I attached myself to a group of girls, following a few steps behind them. In the distance, cicadas hummed in time to my shoe crunching against the gravel. My hair. It wasn't my fault that my hair looked like this. Luckily, I found myself at the girls' dormitory, a large sign in the lawn reading Primrose House. The building dwarfed me in size and sheer intimidation. How many students did Asagao have? As I approached the building, a red-headed girl lingering nearby caught my attention. I looked away, then looked back. She was staring at me. She walked over.
Oh, you must be my roommate!
I eyed her warily. She was smiling and bouncing in a way that suggested her views on life were akin to the perpetual bouncy castle.
What?
Me?
Bingo.
Of course you, silly. Let me guess. Room 325? I thought back to the paper I received a month prior with a list of all the supplies I needed for the year and my dorm arrangements. Yeah, that's right. She laughed, but I couldn't figure out what was so funny. Was she laughing at me? When I found out my roommate was a transfer student, I knew you were going to be a total main character. I'm sorry? A what? When I saw you outside the gate, I knew it was you. I mean, look at that hair. I felt a lump forming in my throat. What was she talking about? She had to be making fun of me. I hadn't spent more than 5 minutes on campus, and I was already being mocked. My hands began to tremble. Is there something wrong with my hair? Her face slackened from its amused smile to a more worried expression. Then she began to laugh again. No!
No. It's great. I'm sorry. We're getting off on the wrong foot, aren't we? Oh, gosh. I'm Mai Sasaki. You must be Hana.
I bowed my head.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you, Mai. All your school books are waiting in our room with your welcome letter, and I read the envelope. I hope you're not mad. Mai started walking toward the dorm's front doors. I followed behind like a lost puppy. Did you check in at the front desk already? No, I didn't. I didn't know we were supposed to. Good. They'll offer to have a staff member give you a tour of the campus, but I can show you around. We don't get many transfer students in year 3, you know. Oh, is that your only bag? Just the one? I'm glad I brought an extra bag of stuff to decorate our room with. I started already. I hope you don't mind. But I didn't want to string the lights. I thought we could do it together, you know? She spoke quickly, the words bubbling from her mouth, and left me no time to answer until the end of her monologue. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. She held the front door open for me and I hurried inside. Girls filed up and down the hallway, howling greetings and exchanging vague niceties that were, more often than not, "How was your break?" and "Look how tan you got." It seemed like everyone knew each other. I followed Maya as she led me through the maze of students and up 2 flights of stairs. Each dorm floor looked the same as the last. Narrow, white doors lining both sides of the pale pink walls. Thin gold numbers were tacked to the front of each. The numbers were rising as we climbed. You're not missing anything with the campus tour, I promise. Mr. Saitomo does them every year, and he's, like, totally dull. He just drags you around the entire campus and talks in that weird, squeaky voice of his. I'll tell you everything you need to know. I smiled, trying to let this calm my nerves. Thanks. We headed down a hallway on the 3rd floor. Maya stopped us in front of a door numbered 325. Here we are. A faint smell of potpourri wafted through the room. The walls, like the hallway, were a soft, powdery pink. Maya already defaced them with a tapestry of posters, magazine cutouts, and photographs. Tortured souls. The only my guitar understands me world tour. That's great. Some of the photos were of cats, but most of them were male models and rugged musicians. A bunk bed with 2 writing desks with wooden chairs, a small dresser, and a mirrored vanity, all clearly provided by the school, were the only pieces of furniture in the tiny room. The top bunk was already covered in neatly tucked blankets and throw pillows of clashing patterns and colors. The bottom bunk had a single stuffed pillow and a thin cotton blanket that I didn't need to touch to know was horribly itchy. I must have grimaced because Maya smiled quickly at me. I brought way too many pillows and blankets. I always overpack. I went to Italy over break and Mom got really mad at me because I bought 5 bags, but we were only there for a week. She laughed, pulled several blankets and pillows from her bunk and rearranged them neatly on mine. A sudden twinge of guilt and embarrassment hit me.
Perfection.
There, that's much better. Thanks, Mai. I placed my suitcase on the bottom bunk and began to unpack its contents. Several changes of clothing, pens, pencils, empty notebooks, a few photographs of my father, a dilapidated stuffed rabbit, an old portable radio, and a small black box. Mai opened the curtains and the sunlight poured in. So, where are you from? I slid the now empty suitcase under the bottom bunk. About 2 hours north of here. It's a small town called Amarisu. You probably haven't heard of it. I sit the stuffed rabbit, Mr. Bunny, on my bedside, on my bed beside a purple and teal throw pillow. Oh. Did you go to a different boarding school, or? No, I went to a public school down the street from my house. Public school? What was that like? Were the students mean? Did you have a lot of friends? I always went to private schools. My parents work a lot, and my dad goes overseas, so I think they stuck me here for convenience. Oh hey, what's that? I'd removed an ornately patterned origami crane from the black box and was setting it on the unclaimed writing desk. Oh, this? My mother made it for me a long time ago. I set it beside a stack of thick textbooks, which I assumed were provided for me. Wow, it's so pretty. I've never seen paper like that before. Oh yeah, the lights. Let me get them. Mai went to her own desk, opened the drawer, pulled out a long and tangled string of fairy lights. I thought these would look nice here. Here, help me string them up. She grabbed a container of push pins, then pulled her wooden desk chair out and over to one wall. I did the same with my own. Together we pinned the lights around the perimeter of the room. How was the train ride over? Did you meet anyone? No, not really. I was in a compartment with some guy, and... Some guy, huh? Was he cute? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't even get his name. Mai seemed disappointed for a moment, then perked back up. You'll have to point him out to me if you see him again. Okay. Once we finished stringing the lights, Mai climbed down from her chair and brushed her hands together triumphantly. Yeah! Done! Okay, now it's time for lunch. The food here is pretty good. There's this ramen place down the street from campus that's like out of this world, but the school only lets us leave campus on weekends. Maya walked to the window. We could go today because it's Sunday, and it's pretty nice out, but I guess you might want to go to the cafe. Since you just got here, we could... She was suddenly interrupted by her own enthusiastic laughter. Oh my gosh, Mimi Santos just totally tripped outside and fell on her face. I saw it. Oh, is that mean to laugh? Maybe I shouldn't have. Oh, well. Anyways, let's go eat. I'm totally starved. She led me out of the room before I had a chance to respond. Alright, so we'll find out what happens in the cafeteria in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.